Hello, 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 everybody on the Virtuous Women group. Hello, hello, hello. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Hello, hello, hello. Tap if you have joined the group. Tap if you have joined the live show. Come. Hello, everybody. Tap if you have joined the group. I want to see how many people are watching now. Your viewers. Men are watching. Yeah, I'm just trying to see who else is watching. Hello, 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 everybody. Sorry, I've got a sore throat today. My voice is a little bit hoarse, but that is not going to stop me to share what I want to share with you today. So when you join in, hello, everybody. How are you? Hello, hello, hello. Virtuous women. Mukadzishaye. How are you, ladies? I am very well, and I'm so happy that I was invited to share with you this very important topic that we are going to be talking today. So, those that are watching, please post in the chat. Hello, Rosaline. How are you? Please share with others, invite others so that I don't have to repeat what I'm going to talk to you about. Hello, everybody. Come in, come in, come in. Invite your friends as we wait to see who else is joining us today. Come on in, come on in, come on in, ladies. Hello, hello. How are you, Yaya? How you doing? Good to see you, ladies. Come on in, invite your friends so that we can talk about this very important topic that I was invited to talk to you with Lee. Thank you, Lee, for the invite. So invite your friends, just tell them that we are live, and then give me a thumbs up if you all are ready to start. Thank you, thank you. Come on in, come on in. Come on in, 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 come on in. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that we have enough lights. Hello, come on in, virtuous women. Hi, hi, hi. Give me a thumbs up if you are ready for us to start. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a few more minutes for other women to join. Hi, hi, how are you? Thank you, ladies, for joining. Shall we give just a few more minutes? Maybe 2 more minutes for other women to join in. Hello, ladies. Hello, ladies. Come on in, and let's talk about this very important topic about unresolved grief. Come on in, come on in. Okay, so I think we can start, and then those that are still on the way to join, they'll have to watch the replay of the video. So my name is Rosemary Mupambwa. I was born and raised in Zimbabwe, but now I'm living here in Canada. I'm a widow. I've been widowed now for 20 years this year. When my husband died, my youngest child was 5 years old. So now they are all adults. The youngest child is now 25. My oldest is 30, 31, and my son is 29. I am also a survivor, okay, of unresolved grief. I'm an author, I'm a speaker. I'm also a coach, a grief coach. So this is the book that I wrote, Exhume or Heal. It talks about my journey as a widow, the challenges that I went through. It's also available on Amazon. So you can see these stickers showing that I read this book a lot. So I'm just letting you know about this book so that you can see where I'm coming from with this topic that I'm about to share with you, unresolved grief. So in my journey, when I lost my husband, just before I lost my husband, I had lost my brother. And then on the way from the memorial service for my eldest brother, that's when I got the news that my husband had also passed away. 2 years later, my dad passed away. 2 years later, I had to move from Zimbabwe to go to Canada. So I didn't have time to go through my grief. I didn't have time to grieve as such, because in the midst of losing my husband, I continued to lose other close family members. I lost all my brothers. I lost my mom. I lost all my best friends. So the grief kept on piling up. I had also what is described as complicated grief. Complicated grief is also the same as unresolved grief. It becomes unresolved because I didn't have time to sit down and kind of reflect back and go through my grief. So when you lose your loved ones and avoid and avoid kind of paying attention to the wound or to the void that has been created by the loss. This becomes unresolved grief. There's the void that is created when you lose somebody. These people that you have lost will never be replaceable. So grief is like a flu, right? So when you have a flu, you have to let it take its course. But most of the times, because we are women, right, we have all these responsibilities, especially when you lose your husband. Now you have the responsibility of taking care of your children. You have the responsibility of paying attention to what society is saying about you, which is one of the biggest issues that we have in our community, in the Zimbabwean community, where a widow is expected to behave in a certain way. But I've always asked people, how is a widow supposed to know how to behave or know how to handle certain situations? I've never seen a college that trains widows or even that trains divorcees. So let's go back to the types of grief. So grief is not only losing a husband, so you don't grieve just because you have lost your husband. You grieve because you have also gone through a divorce. Because when you lose your husband to a divorce, you have lost a relationship that had taken you from being a single woman now to a coupled woman. So when you lose that status as Mrs. Somebody, you are now grieving the loss of that relationship. You can also go through grief if your husband runs away with another woman. Your husband just wakes up one day, he's gone because he has fallen in love with either your best friend or, one of the women that you know, or somebody that you don't even know. It's called a runaway husband, grieving. You can also grieve if you have gone through a heartbreak. For the single women, you were in love with this guy and then he just wakes up one day and sends you a message, or he calls you and he tells you that, you and me are done. That's a heartbreak. And you start grieving. Most of us women also go through separation grieving. For example, those that are in the diaspora, you were probably separated with your families or with your kids when you came overseas to try and work out the paperwork or the immigration issues and await the visas for your children. So during that time, you are also going through grief because you have been separated from the union with your family and with your children. During that time, you're also going through grief. Most of us don't even realize that during that time when you're separated from your family, that's grief as well. Most of the people just think that, when we go through, when we say grief, it's about when you lose your husband. No. Grief is when something that was attached to you, something that belonged to you, has been removed and a void is created in your life. It could be a job. Right now, the world is going through recession through the COVID-19. A lot of people have lost their houses. A lot of people have lost their businesses. A lot of people have lost their jobs. So the whole world is going through grief. And this is also called shared grief. So back to the topic of unresolved grief. So when all this is happening, as women, we were raised as nurturers. The first thing that we think about is other people. You either think about your kids, you either think about your parents, you either think about your siblings. But the last person that we think about is ourselves. So how does, unresolved grief grow? When you avoid or don't deal or face your grief, it accumulates into baggage. And this is called unresolved grief. Most of the times we pretend everything is okay. And so we kind of cover up. We wear masks. When you are in the public, you are smiling. Everybody asks you, how are you doing? Oh, I'm okay. I'm okay. Because a lot of the times we don't feel comfortable to share about our grief or our loss, especially when you have had a heartbreak, or especially when you have had a runaway husband. You are scared to share this with your friends because you are not sure how your friends are going to talk, how your friends are going to talk about it behind your back. So the effects of grief, the first thing is because you are denying yourself the opportunity to go through the grieving process. As I mentioned before, grief is like flu, right? When you have a flu, you have to let it take its course. The doctor will tell you, I'm not going to give you any medication. Let the grief take its course. Now, what you have to do in the meantime, when you are going through grief, stop denying the fact that you have grief that needs to be taken care of. You remain in denial of your loss or your breakup, and you think that the partner cannot mean what they were saying. For example, if somebody has had a heartbreak, you don't like to talk about it. You don't like to face the grieving process. You don't like even to think about that. You know what? This guy has broken up with me. I still have a life. You are so focused on why, this guy has broken up with you. You are so focused at why your husband has died. You are so focused at why your husband has asked for a divorce. Most of the times, we don't have closure. Most of the times, we don't have answers to all this. And as women, as I said, we continue to be super women. We start taking care of other people, but we forget about ourselves. So grief will continue to pile up because you have all these other issues in life that you are taking care of. It piles up, and before you know it, you are like a volcano which is ready to erupt. So the effects of grief, for example, it narrows your thinking. I'm sure you have heard a lot of people saying in Shona, dzakutacha, dzivava, dzatorasika. It's because unresolved grief affects your thinking process. It affects your thought process. It affects your daily thinking. Like for example, when I lost my husband, there's a lot of, things that I could forget. For example, I would forget where I put my keys, my car keys. I would forget what I was going to talk about in the middle of a sentence. I forget what I wanted to say next. And this happens even in meetings. You are sitting in a meeting and your brain just starts to wander. And then when people ask you, are you okay, Rose? And then you go, huh? It's because your mind is so preoccupied with stuff that you haven't dealt with. Your choices, for daily lives, they become harder because you are scared that you might be hurt again. For example, if somebody has broken up with you, you start feeling scared even to go out to date because you think that, well, the next guy that you are going to fall in love with is going to break your heart again, which obviously is not true. You have trust issues and you still think that because because you were hurt, you can never trust anybody, even your siblings. For example, if your sister has run away with your husband, you can never trust the other siblings because you don't know whether they are supporting that relationship or not. You can't even trust your parents because you don't know if they are supporting that relationship with your ex-husband. For example, if somebody has betrayed you in life, in my journey as a widow, the people that I thought were my friends, that I thought, could have my back, they are the same people that betrayed me. So after that, I had a lot of trust issues. Most of the times you find they are women that are very irate. You go in a grocery store, you see this woman that is having babies scream around her, and she's shouting at them, shut up, it's not because of the baby that is screaming, but it's because this woman has had so much grief or so much pain in her that she cannot even handle the demands of a child. Children, when they are crying, it's a cry for help, right? So when a woman is screaming back at a child, that's a cry for help, because behind that screaming, there is something that's going on. But a lot of us, we think that, oh, am I having a hasha? No, it's not because she is angry. She is angry because of what she is going through. Most of the women, or a lot of the people, they become short-tempered. You become so irritable, and you don't even know why you are so irritable. But when you look back, you'll see that, you know what, you have had so much hurt, you have had so much pain in your life that you still haven't dealt with. Most of the times, this unresolved grief, it turns into depression because you have become an emotional cripple. You bury your head in the sand and never think you can never heal. But this is so untrue. Stop burying your head in the sand and thinking that you deserve the pain. No, nobody deserves to suffer. Nobody deserves to be crying forever. I know in our culture at one point, well, when I was widowed, it was expected of the widow to be sad. It was expected for the widow to be crying and weeping, endlessly at the funeral and days after the funeral. It was expected of you, even with the community members, even your family. They expected you to be walking down with your tail between your legs or with your head down because you have lost your husband. For example, this culture with us women being expected to wear black when your husband passes away. I'm yet to meet the person who put that rule or who put that policy that widows are supposed to be labeled with wearing all black. When you wear all black, especially when it's forced on you, it's a reminder of your grief. It's a reminder of your loss. It's a reminder that nobody is supposed to look at you. Because during that 1 year when you are wearing black, no man wants to talk to you, right? But for men, they are not expected to wear black. And within a week or so, they are already going out with other women. But for us women, because we are expected to wear that black grief-stricken outfit, it's a reminder that Nobody is supposed to look at you. You are still in grief. You are expected to be sad for a year or so until the in-laws have decided to have that ceremony where they cleanse you and they take that widow's outfit and destroy it. For example, the other issue that we have for you to develop unresolved grief is after it turns into depression, it also turns into it also turns into anger. It also turns into anxiety. It also turns into sleepless nights. It also turns into memory issues. It also yes, it kupfeka sorry. Yes, that sorry thing. You know, for me, I didn't wear that outfit because my dad refused me to wear that sorry outfit. But in other cultures, I know it's actually expected, especially if your relatives don't say anything. So it's like a reminder. It's like a curse. They give you a curse, which is glorified as you being labeled as a widow. That's a curse. Because for a whole year, you are supposed to be grieving. And if you don't deal with that grief properly, then it's going to develop into unresolved grief. You cannot even have lasting romantic relationship if you are dealing with unresolved grief, because you have all these reminders, you have all these triggers. Like for me, when I lost my husband, when I came over here to Canada, every time when I would go into the mall to do some shopping, or I go into the grocery store to do my groceries, whenever I see a family, like a complete family, mom, dad, and their kids, and they are going around their business, wow, that used to be a big trigger for me. And I remember there were times when I would just start weeping, or I would leave my cart and kind of go outside and get regrouped before I continue with my business. So you also have all these little triggers that remind you of your loss. You lie to yourself that there is nothing like healing after you grieve. And as a result, you might prevent other people from healing too because of your negative talk and your negative energy that you are sending. It also causes anger issues, very bad moods. You are short-tempered, you are very irritable. It causes confusion. It causes disorganization. It also causes eating disorders. It also causes bitterness. It also causes resentment. It also causes this empty feeling. It creates a lot of extreme loneliness. It also creates blame shifting because they are also blaming other people for your loss. For example, if it has been a heartbreak, you start blaming yourself. That, oh wow, maybe I wasn't performing enough, I wasn't beautiful enough, or I wasn't taking care of my boyfriend or my husband enough. That's why he has decided to break up with me, which is not true. You are sad all the time. You walk with your head down. You are never happy. You always exude this negative energy with you. You never think that it's possible for you to find happiness again. Most of the widows that I was in companion with when I was still back in Zimbabwe, we thought that it was expected of us to be so unhappy. You move around the town, with your black headgear, kaduku ke black kaya, wakakasunga, and you don't even put makeup on, you don't put lipstick, you don't even put your earrings on, and you wear these butter tennis shoes, Tommy the black, Growing up, I always thought when I see every woman that's wearing Tomie black, I would think that, oh, that's a widow. And then when you look up, you see, oh, no, it's not a widow actually, but, it's just somebody that has decided to wear Tomie black. But growing up, I honestly thought Tomie black was supposed to be worn by widows, because most of the widows that I knew would be wearing this black outfit, this dress with box pleats or knife pleats with a belt and button up halfway with a little collar, and kadugu ke blacky, and then tennis shoes the black. And this outfit you were supposed to wear it like for a year or a year and a half. Yes, it was called a widow's uniform. Now, all these are the things that also contribute to unresolved grief. Because while you're wearing sorry yo black, you think that if you start the healing process, it's not proper. You are supposed to honor the death of your husband by continuing to be sad. But little do you know that you are really doing yourself a disfavor. You are really doing yourself, you are not being honest with yourself, and you are not taking care of your emotions. All these are also causes of unresolved grief. And these, have a long and lasting impact on your emotional health. A lot of the women that I've known that have gone through unresolved grief or complicated grief are now psychics. They've lost their minds. Most of them have serious mental health issues. And some of them, they even end up, like here in Canada, they end up in the psych unit because they just cannot handle their grief. They cannot handle their pain because they think that if they start going on a healing process or a healing journey, then they are not honoring the death of their husband, which is so untrue. So ladies, for those that are watching and for those that are going to watch the replay of this video, remember, when you have lost a husband, when you have lost a relationship has broken down through either divorce, or your husband has run away, or a heartbreak, or you have lost friends. Your best friends just decides that they no longer want to be friends with you. Give yourself time to go through the grieving process. Give yourself time to face your grief. Accept that, this has happened. I've lost my husband, yes. I need to go through the grieving process, yes. But you need to remember that healing is possible. Healing is a choice. It's up to you. If you want to continue crying, or if you want to continue grieving for the rest of your life, it's up to you. Healing is a choice. This is my motto, ladies. Healing is your choice. Even if you cry and you impress your in-laws, you impress your relatives that, you know what, you have given time to weep or to cry for your husband during the funeral. You have given yourself time to show your relatives, to impress them that, you know what, I am really sad about my loss. You need to remember that that is not the end of the world. After you've gone through the crying period, the weeping period, or the mourning period, you have to go through that mourning period. Okay? Give yourself time to go through the mourning period. Mourning is when you actually express your grief by crying. But you are not supposed to mourn for the rest of your life. You are also supposed to give yourself time to start reflecting back on what tomorrow is going to be like. Because if you continue grieving, then you are not doing yourself a favor, even your children. I was left with 3 children. So I always think back, if I had continued mourning, or if I had continued grieving, burying my head in the sand, what was going to become of my children? What was going to become of me? I wouldn't be here talking to you about this topic if I had continued crying and feeling sad, feeling sorry for me, blaming everybody that took away my husband, blaming even the in-laws that, probably didn't give you enough support, or the support that you expected them to give you. You have to think about your tomorrow. What is your tomorrow going to be like if you continue crying and blaming other people? What are you planning for your future? What are you planning for your children? What are you planning for yourself? What is going to become of yourself? What I really wanted to do is to remind you ladies that unresolved grief exists. But it's up to you to deal with the grief. I see that in our community, Miss Mambo wants to come on camera. Let me see if I'll be able to bring her on. Okay, yeah, we can't bring her on camera, unfortunately. I'm not sure what's going on. She had requested to come on camera. But, so if you have any questions, ladies, just post them in the chat, and then we'll be going through the questions. And I can see how we can help each other. This is a very interactive topic. And I know for some of you, you didn't know whether you are actually going through unresolved grief, or you are just going through grieving process. So grieving, you have to give yourself time to grieve, right? But there is a time when you have to reflect and see whether you are still grieving, or this has turned into unresolved grief. If the grieving or your losses just continue piling up, and you still haven't resolved, or you still haven't dealt with your pain, that's unresolved grief. So if you have any questions, ladies, post them in the chat, or you can send them direct to my Facebook page. My Facebook name is Rose Moop, ROSEMUP, or my business page is at Roseslife Coach, which is my business page. So you can send that. You can send all the questions that you have. Otherwise, this is all that I had for you, ladies. If you have any questions, as I said, you can post them on the chat, and then I'll be able to answer them. Or you can post them on the group. I've been invited also on the group. So now I'm a member of the Virtuous Women Munkazi Chaiye, and then I will be taking up all the questions from there. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. My name is Rosemary Mpambwa, and I was live from Canada. Thank you. You have a wonderful day, ladies. Bye-bye.